I love is when women decide that something is no longer serving them and they get the fuck up out of it. Like, this is no longer meant for me. Got a blast. I love that. Like, I love when women choose themselves, put themselves first. Like, I love that. Girl, look at you. Realizing who the fuck you are and realizing not. I'm not going to deal with this any longer. I need to get up out of this. I need to do what's best for me. And you did that shit. And that's why you a boss ass bitch, because you did that shit. You did that shit. Never forget that you did that shit.
What up, gang? Y'all the fucking gang. Why y'all ain't responding?
Oh, wow, that's us?
Okay, well,
Sorry,
gang.
it's Nicole.
Say it again.
It's just Nicole. Never mind. Hi, Nicole. How are you?
I'm good. How you doing?
How you, Mike?
That's not how we introduce the show. Welcome back to another episode of the Do Not Resuscitate podcast, where we are pulling the plug on things that no longer serve us. Tommy, stop moving the camera.
It's not centered.
You were supposed to do this beforehand.
Well, somebody moved. I was over there doing it. Don't look at me. I'm not looking at you.
So y'all gonna fight this episode, or what we gonna do? Y'all gonna fight?
We're not fighting. I don't have the energy. Nicole, how have you been?
I'm good.
It's been a month since we recorded.
I know we need to get our shit together, but we gonna get it together. We need to be more consistent.
Life happens.
For sure.
So, and I think that's the whole point of the podcast, that we allow ourselves that time, that energy to be like, you know what, today ain't it.
You right.
So, y'all get the shit whenever we feel like it.
I don't think that's a good thing, but okay.
I mean, why put out something that doesn't have kinetic energy versus putting out something that's just like,
right?
Hey, yeah,
I wouldn't.
You know what I'm
put that
saying?
out,
Like,
yeah.
so versus
That'd be
putting
whack.
out something that isn't meaningful or heartfelt, rather put something out that means something where I'm feeling like, you know what, I actually want to be here.
Right.
Most of the time, I be wanting to be here until I get here, and then I got to deal with the producer.
You better listen. Leave Tommy alone.
I gotta mess with him before he mess with me.
He ain't even doing nothing. He just working.
Hi, Tommy. How are you?
Oh, you talking to me? I'm doing okay. I'm doing okay. Ruthia.
So while we haven't been recording, what you been doing? Because you've been MIA. See, I just blamed it all on him.
Wait. I haven't been doing nothing. Y'all was supposed to have been missing.
What did say?
You heard me
I
say,
said what I said.
I blamed it on him.
One Tuesday was my daughter's choir concert. I couldn't make it.
So he was busy.
That was one.
Mm-hmm.
When it was rescheduled, it was like, I can't do that one. Somebody said that.
She couldn't do October 22nd.
Yeah. She didn't even give a reason. She just, I can't do that. You know.
Y'all didn't ask for a reason.
You don't have to.
I had a model rehearsal.
Okay. All right. So you have some grown stuff to do.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Booked, blessed, and busy.
And we decided to do it on election day because it's fitting.
Yeah.
It's fitting.
It's gonna be interesting.
Mm-hmm.
So it's gonna be interesting to see. So
we all made sure we voted early so we can do it.
Well, actually, I voted today.
Oh, did? Okay.
Yep, I went and voted today. And then I took my daughter to vote as well. So
is this her first time
No.
voting? No, I know she's old enough, but I'm saying, like, you said
that
you took
girl
her.
Is old.
I know, but you said you took her.
No, I had to pick her up
like,
from work.
Oh,
They have one vehicle, and so I help her in the evenings.
What was the poll like when you went? Was it a lot of people?
Dry. Okay, so I had to vote at Northcott.
Okay.
And I was number 227, which made me feel sad at first. But then my daughter was like, Mom, you have to remember a lot of people did early voting.
So
I was like, okay. All right, then I feel a little bit better. But I, because I have recently moved back from Racine, I had to register. And so from the time I went in the door, registered and voted was probably 15 minutes.
Okay.
So it wasn't a long. It wasn't. There wasn't a line.
Mhm.
It wasn't. I think I saw one person sitting at a table, or at how they tell you where to go or whatever. So it was like one person there, and that was it, and then me.
Okay.
I'm sorry to bring like sorrow to this episode, but security guard just came by and waved at me. And
I know.
Listen, I
that,
just put my
know.
head down.
I know.
that
I
was
just put my
not
head
that was
down.
not who I expected to wave at.
Right.
And that just really shook me a little bit.
Listen,
Seriously.
today is my first time being back in the Sherman Phoenix
Since
since Dre, and I was here, I think like 2 days before, and I was talking shit, obviously, because why would I not?
Yeah, because that's what you do.
Right, I've been harassing them since high school, so
Yeah, I
Yeah.
know. When I came in today and I looked at the little
I didn't look.
memorial,
purpose. I didn't look on
because
purpose.
he was a really good dude. You know what I mean?
he was the staple
Like,
of
yeah,
Sherman Phoenix.
he always was checking, and he gonna tell you, "Hey, get the hell up out of here."
Oh
He
yeah.
never put me out though. Dre ain't never put me out, probably because he know better.
Like, time to go. You ain't gotta go.
I mean, he
home.
put
You
out
gotta
the
get up
people who
outta
need to be
here.
put out. I mean,
Right.
you probably needed to be put out, but you probably smiled
Where
at some
Denise
shit.
words at?
But we were speaking about
Yeah.
the security guard Dre for the Sherman Phoenix. If you've been to Sherman Phoenix, he's the person who's at the door 99% of the time, saying what's up to you, or he's probably outside on the phone yelling at his baby mama, or
Or telling me I ain't handicapped, so I don't
you
park
can't
there.
park there.
All right, park there if you
Yeah.
want to. I ain't gonna say nothing.
But
when
he
your
had
shit
his route.
gone.
He walked through the building, he checked all the doors. He walked by here, he waved,
Yeah.
and he's the only dude I let call me Tom. I never let anybody call me Tom.
Don't do that. No
He called me Tomcat. It was Tomcat, so it was kind of like
I used to call
That
him a
either.
glorified usher because he do literally what the ushers are supposed to do at church. Like, you just an usher, bro. Chill. You ain't even real security.
oh, he had a gun though. So
I got one too. I told him I'm always strapped.
the usher at the church got a gun. That's a problem.
I mean, I'm strapped
Well.
with my blessed tool. That's my gun. I put it out on him before too.
If Trump wins, I'm going to get a gun. I have to.
You're gonna have to.
I have
I
to.
mean, but he been president before.
I know.
Before.
And
Yeah, but it's different.
it was different because at that point, like I made that point when the written hour thing, the when the dude got let go.
Oh yeah.
I was like, I think I need to get a gun. And then things started kind of getting better. I was like, all right, well, because I'm not a big fan of guns. I'm just
Right.
I'm not either. As
I'm
angry as I
being-
am, I'm not a fan of violence.
Right. I understand it. Like, I'm not a fan of guns. Do I have a gun? But I'm really not to a place where I'm that comfortable with it. Like, I'm be honest, I don't
I'm not
carry it that often.
concerned about having a gun because of the election. I'm more so concerned about having a gun because of the kid boys. They harass me on a regular basis. And that will be my reason. Even though I don't want to have to use it because these are still children. But at the same time,
They don't care.
Exactly. They don't care. So that would be like my reasoning if I felt the need to get one.
Girl, just keep your car insurance paid up and I wouldn't be worrying about it.
Well, I mean, I stay in a white Harris dominated area. So
They
I'm
don't
not
care.
too worried about the extreme people being
Right.
stupid. But
The
don't
extreme
know.
people, that's what we call them. The extreme.
He's talking about
the far right
yeah.
Oh, I
Trump
thought you
people.
about to say the
Some of the
niggles.
Trumpsters.
Oh no, not the,
ain't
I'm
talking
not
about
really worried
them.
about the niggas as much as I'm worried about the people, the
Yeah.
casseroleans. I'm not really worried about black people.
Right. But
Casseroleans?
They're the kings and queens of casserole.
The casseroleans. Interesting.
I've never
You never heard
He
of it
just
before?
made that up.
They're
I
the-
promise he just
they
made
the
that
king.
up.
I've been saying it for a minute. I just don't
I
say it
have
often.
never
why
heard
That's
that.
why
I
Dre called
love
him
that.
Tomcat.
That's true
The
though.
casseroleans. Hey,
Castor
where they make all kind of casseroles and bakes.
man. But yeah, I don't know. This you're right. This is a different type of election. Like it's probably I'm not really into politics, right?
Mhm.
But it's the first time that I just been so irritated and frustrated with the foolishness. You know, we all have a right to vote for who we want to vote for, but it's just like if Tommy is hiring to help produce, he gonna hire somebody that know how to work the equipment, that understands what all
Or
goes
that's
into
willing
it.
to be trained.
He's not going. No, he's not gonna hire me because
You wouldn't
I
hire
don't
me?
understand. If you don't, because
I
it's
think
more to it
if
than
you're
just to get
competent
on
enough
there.
to actually, if you're competent
Correct.
to take the direction, yes.
Correct.
But if you come in and be like, I know how to do this, it can't be that hard.
Yeah.
I mean, but it can't be.
Tommy
doing
following
shit.
me.
He don't do shit though.
But he do. He just came here. He had
Tune
to
in
set
to the
all
next
of that
episode
stuff.
of Do Not Resuscitate when I give all the damn controls to Ruthia.
Oh, I thought you were
It's
saying
gonna be like,
tune into the next episode.
I think we need to move on down. That ain't no
Oh,
problem.
do not resuscitate when we have to. Do not resuscitate with Thea. That's where I
Hey,
thought you was.
you'll be
gonna
sitting
go.
here forever waiting for it to come on. She ain't gonna know how to. She ain't gonna,
I'm gonna do it from my phone. Like, fuck this shit.
Right.
We just gonna do it from here. 'Cause
I
we
did
play
this
so
shit.
much.
I did this shit.
But see, but you're right though, Tommy. That's exactly what I was saying. Like he not even competent to understand. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So it's like, and it's tough for me because I understand why different groups are voting for him, and I understand.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I totally get
I
it.
think my frustration or anxiety is with the amount of people that aren't voting.
Definitely.
I just don't understand why we not voting. And I say
Well,
we as the black people that I've been communicating with, they just not voting.
but people also have to understand not voting is still a choice. You're still making a choice.
Mm-hmm.
Just because you didn't go to the poll and fill in that little dot doesn't
And I've
mean
tried
anything.
to. So I look at it as when I ask people about like, do they believe in God? Like, I'm not finna force it on you.
No,
like I'm gonna
absolutely
ask
not.
are you informed about it or whatnot? And if you feel so strongly about it, I'm just gonna leave it there because I've done my part by, you know what I'm saying, asking you and trying to inform you. But so many black men are not voting.
Because they are well, I'll go back. My church, which I grew up Lutheran, and Lutheran and Catholic probably have a similar kind of belief system. I'm not saying only black people following this. I'm just saying it's ingrained in like a man's capacity to believe that women in these churches aren't held to the responsibility of leading worship. They can't lead prayer. And in some cases came and teach like middle school. They came and teach 7th and 8th grade because the boys are almost men. So they can't lead men.
Mm-hmm.
So they're not, they have a place.
Mhm.
So years and years of that is the belief system. I believe that women can't lead. I'm not saying that niggas that ain't voting are following that, but I think in their own jurisdiction and how they've lived, they probably have been in a situation where the mother wasn't. I'm gonna say, if niggas saying they ain't voting for a woman, they grew up in a trifling household because their mama wasn't shit.
Oh damn. Well, that's that on that.
I've been saying, like, how can you not look at a woman and see that she's strong enough to lead unless you had a woman that wasn't leading in your
I mean,
you know what I
I've
mean?
heard a lot of older men say that I'm not letting no woman run me. I'm not letting no woman lead me.
So you got the traditional men that do that, and then
Yeah.
you got the men who ain't seen no woman lead before. So you
Right.
got two groups of men who ain't
right.
comfortable having that happen. Then you got,
I've heard a lot of guys say that they think women are too emotional
yeah.
to be in a position of
I don't know. I
like
think
that.
we in an era where these men is very emotional too.
That too, but when
You know what
when
I'm
I was
saying?
told that, I was thinking about it like hell yeah, because I'd be like, kill all these motherfuckers. The
I
moment
mean, I
one of y'all
get it
pisses
because
me
you
off,
know we got, but she passed the age of having a period.
I don't
Damn,
give I don't give a
what we
damn. I'm
talking
still
about her
emotional.
having her period, but still,
I'm still emotional.
We emotional too. You see how Trump went when he got mad about the crowd size? He
I
went
ain't gonna
off.
lie.
He
I ain't gonna lie.
snapped.
I like Trump
He
for
snapped
his
about
facial
everything.
expressions because I make a lot of facial expressions. I'll be like, oh, I've never did that one before. I should try that one. And he's good for memes. I like texting people that
yeah,
all
for
his
sure.
facial. That's his permanent.
So
Anytime you ask
far,
him a question.
so far, Kamala has won Vermont, Massachusetts, Rhode Island, Connecticut, Maryland, North Carolina, Virginia, Ohio.
Oh yeah, because
Pennsylvania,
the East Coast is
and
it's 8:00.
they projected her to win Texas.
What
So-
really?
Yeah,
Okay.
but she's still behind substantially in the electoral votes.
That's okay, but you know how that's because those polls are closed. The East Coast, you know,
Still got
they-
California, still
yeah.
got Wisconsin, still
yeah,
got Michigan.
Cali is what 2 hours
But
behind.
California has a gang of electoral votes. I forget how
Right.
many they have.
So my question would be, it's probably like two questions. Why is voting so important to you, or like why do you feel like it's so important for you to make sure you go out and vote? And how do we get our youth to the point where when they're old enough to vote? Because a lot of the youth, I feel like it's split. Like the younger kids, shout out to Bake Dreams, her babies are like all over
Yeah,
on top
they
of
sure
it. Like,
were.
did
They
y'all
was
go
like, "Did
vote?"
y'all
And, you
vote?
know, stuff like that. So we have the younger generation who is excited about it because it's something that they want to do. Because that's how I was when I was in middle school. It was vote or die. That was super huge and stuff like that when I was in middle school. But then you have the high school students, which my son, and he like, what's the point? Like they don't feel like it's necessary. So how do we get them to a point where they feel like it's necessary?
We have to
vote?
really educate them, not what the school is teaching them, but what we have to teach them, the importance of it. You know what I mean? And I think that's some of it we're allowing the school to educate them on what their perspective of voting versus we need to.
I asked him, I
really-
said, so are you a Republican? He was like, I mean, I think Trump has a great, because he's in learning it in economics class about they're using the election to kind of to get the kids interested in,
Of course,
you know, the money side of it. He like, well, I like money, and I had to explain to him all the other things that's going on. That's not just about the money, and how it affects even him or me and whatever in the future.
Right.
And he like, I hear you, but I don't plan on voting regardless, which is kind of like,
she didn't win Texas. I'm sorry. It was
well, that sucks. If you know what I'm saying, for kids to not even think that it's important for them to vote. Young Black men are just not excited about voting.
Well, the thing about what people miss is that because Trump was in power, it doesn't necessarily control you locally.
That part.
That's the part that they don't actually explain. But he was in charge, and didn't he pick 2 or 3 Supreme Court justices? I forgot how many. I think he picked 3, which actually became the crux of how he is able to run, because the Supreme Court chose rules that benefited him.
Like,
correct.
And he voted.
But that's another thing. It's like, how
He
is it
voted
that we
today.
are told that if we have we're felons and
Florida.
stuff like that, we can't vote, but then the most crooked motherfucker can vote and be the president, or at least
Be
run.
president. And be the president.
Yeah,
Like,
that don't even make sense. But again, that's that privilege.
Like the fuck,
you know.
So I understand the whole like I understand it, but because it's so in a microwave age and it's so distant for them to understand, I can see why they don't see the benefit.
But there's also the point that you made about the local officials. I think that's more important, getting to know them, because at any given moment you can walk into Sherman Phoenix and see one of our local officials here. And I don't have a problem with walking up to y'all, talking to y'all like I talk to anybody else. And if I grew up with you, please understand I'm still calling you by your nickname, Dirty. I'm not calling you, I ain't gonna say it.
Talking about the mayor.
No, no, but he does be in here a lot. But
that's the county executive. Sorry.
Yeah, I'm gonna say
I've heard that before.
I know him as Dirty, so that's hey Dirty. He'd be like, sis.
That's hilarious.
Like,
Dog got a street name.
Right.
You was Dirty David.
I cannot. But see, I think
not like dirty, like nasty, not clean type of dirty.
Either way, it don't sound promising.
That's how I was introduced.
Can't really clean it up.
That's just how I was introduced to him, and it was like, okay, it was both of the Davids. We had to figure out which one was which.
What was the other David? Clean David.
No, it was just he just wanted to be David.
Okay.
He just wanted
to be David and Dirty David.
Aren't they both politicians?
Yeah,
that's funny.
And we also used to do a lot of the sit-ins, and we did a lot of like protesting and stuff like that when we was all in Urban Underground. So a lot of the stuff that we learned within Urban Underground, which programs like that are no longer available to our youth, is kind of like why they're in their positions right now, being state representatives. Because
I think the irony of that
it was
dirty.
Really? I don't think so. He was always sweet.
No, whatever.
Well,
I don't know
shout out
nothing
to
about
him.
him. So
But Urban Underground was ran by Reggie and Charlotte Moore, who are both also somewhere in our local officials as well.
mhm.
So I think that's dope that we actually, well, they, let me not say we, they used what we was learning in Urban Underground to, you know, make an imprint. Because them sit-ins, I used to be like, can I go home? Can I eat? No, Rosa Parks didn't have a sandwich. Like,
Right.
nobody care.
I think though too, like we also need to help them understand that it's the local level that's the most important. You know what I mean? Because that leads, it goes up. You
Mhm.
know, so we need to definitely be talking to our kids about the importance of voting, at least in the local level. I mean, we prefer for them to vote all the way, but for sure
Right.
in the local level, because that's where we get it impacted the most.
Right. Right.
You know, and then of course
So,
it leads up.
does Wisconsin have a ban on abortion already?
No, because I believe Planned Parenthood is still open.
So,
Well,
I-
they offer more than abortions.
They do. Let me fact.
because so I had an experience a couple weeks ago where I was somewhere on the east side and I made a wrong turn and I was like, oh shit.
You was on Farwell.
I don't know where the fuck I was at. I ain't gonna
Mhm.
lie. I just had to GPS my way up out of it. But I made a turn and I can't remember where I was at, but I didn't realize that it was an abortion clinic.
You was on Farwell.
Or you know what I'm saying, something that was over there that I seen a bunch of people stand outside with signs talking about
Mhm.
abortion and how it's wrong and what have you. But then there were also people that were standing in front of the building that was walking back and forth across the street getting
Mhm.
people. And I mean, like, and they were like yelling at them, like they were like having to cover their face. And for
Mhm.
me to see that, it's like, one, I don't believe in abortions, but I don't want somebody to tell me that I don't have the right
Mhm.
to that. And to each his own. If that's what you feel like is good for your life right now, then by all means. So I don't judge people who do, but just to see that, you know what I'm saying, right there in my
Mhm.
face, it's like, so y'all really upset? 'Cause y'all don't know what they going in there for.
Well, I mean, part of it too is this. It not only affects. It also, they're stopping women from having rights over their own body. So there's a little bit more to it than that. I don't believe, I don't think abortion is
Right.
you know what I mean. I don't think that people should use it as a form of birth control for certain. But I do feel like if someone is having some sort of medical
Right.
emergency,
And that's where I think where people are wrong. Like,
right.
Real quick, it's been legal since September 18th, 2023 in Wisconsin, and it's only performed in Madison, Milwaukee, and Sheboygan through 22 weeks of gestation.
That's a lot.
So I can honestly say that when I was in high school, I went to Planned Parenthood with friends, and I didn't know that that's what they were going for. Like, I was a virgin. I didn't know nothing about it. So they would come out and it was like they would have a little pink paper and a little brown bag, and they were like, "Yep, got to come back next week or whatever." They'd be like, "What y'all coming back for?" Like, dang. I didn't know that teenage girls
Right.
was having abortions at that capacity.
Right.
I was just going just because technically, if we got stopped by tabs, I would be the one to talk because I was the only one that was able to be out of school during the
Right.
day. So I can
But-
understand that people are abusing it.
Yeah.
However, don't allow that for people who, you know what I'm saying, need it.
Well, because I don't have the exact specifics and I might not be explaining it right or whatever, but there are also situations where there has to be a choice between the mother and the child. So the mother is just going to die. Really, essentially, they're both going to die because it's inside the body of the
Yeah.
mother. There are certain situations where women have had miscarriages and they couldn't have that removed.
Oh wow.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So it's now this.
Ooh. And I've seen the effects of someone not properly having the
Correct.
afterbirth taken out and how it messed them up. So
Right.
that's
But I don't know. I guess it's just the hard part for me is like, I mean, I guess think of both of us as SA survivors, right? what if, you know what I'm saying, I was raped and now I'm pregnant with this baby? Like, I wouldn't even
It's
know.
a constant reminder.
That's difficult. I've already been assaulted. Now I have to raise the child.
And
And I
possibly
feel like
torment the child
that's
because
all I'm
I
trying.
don't,
Right.
I can't, it's hard. I'm not going to say I can't love you, but it's hard for me to look at you and not see a stain.
Right. And so I watched this clip today about these people. It was 5 white women, and they had signs up saying, "Choose adoption. Choose adoption." So this man go up to them and he says, "How many children do you have?" And the lady was like, 2. And he said, "Well, how many of them are adopted?" She said, "None." Then he went to the next lady.
Hmm.
"How many children have you adopted?" "I have my own children." "Well, how many have you adopted?" Out of all 5 of those white women, none of them had ever adopted no kids.
And
So what?
even
Why are you
still-
standing up here with this sign saying this?
Even still, to carry a child and to give them up for adoption, that's a
Mhm.
whole nother mental process.
We have enough black children in the system than to be adding more to the system, only for them to be, in a lot of cases, abused,
Mhm.
not receiving the love that they need, and then they be what? The kid boys. You know what I'm saying? Or
Even
they
to
you know, some
pivot the
angry
conversation
children.
and to loop the election and the things that we are talking about currently and moving into mental health. I know a guy who was a foster parent. And because he was dealing with stuff in his own life, he was like, you know what? I need a break. I need to get my mental together. I need to get my finances together. I need to take a moment. So he was like, he talked to the kids he had. It was a couple young boys. And he was like, y'all got to go back for at least a month or so just so I can get me together. And within that time frame, one of those young men was killed. So now that, you know what I'm saying, has even taken him back, because now he feels guilty, like, well, if I would have just been able to hold it together,
Right.
to keep, you know what I'm saying? So there's so many different levels.
Well, even more too, the system doesn't always do the right things. You know, a lot of times the case managers they overloaded, or they feel like a family. Yeah, they feel like a family has had a child too long. They move them. So, my daughter's grandfather and his wife, they were foster parents. And they had 3 little girls who I actually knew because we grew up on the block with their mom, and their mom had became addicted to drugs, and her daughters went into the foster care system. Well, my daughter's grandparents ended up with those 3 little girls, and they had them for a good while. They were doing really great. And the system decided they were going to get too attached to them. So they removed the girls and put them in another foster home, where the foster father brutally raped one of the girls to the point where she would never be able to have children. You get what I'm saying?
So I've been around several. So one of my, which is crazy, one of my favorite cousins is adopted, right? And I would have known that she was adopted until she didn't know until she was 18. But I didn't know until, a couple years ago. And it was like, dang, the person I like the most ain't even technically blood. That's crazy. But then I've been around where one of my other cousins, where she was a foster parent, to where it was like, okay, y'all keep giving me back the same child and sending him back to his mother and giving him back to me. And every time I gotta kind of like undo everything that she's already done. And he, to the point where he was like, I'm black and I don't want to go back over there. This is a full-blown white boy. He like, this is my family and this is where I want to be. Like he had to like state his case, like, I don't want to go back there, to where I'm pretty sure he's adopted now. But then I've also seen cases where it's like, a lady I went to church with, she had a little girl, and that little girl was so messed up. Like, even just seeing her sitting in the pew, like she would pinch the other little kids. And I think she would always ask like, oh, well, can my sister come to church with us? Her sister was with someone else. So they would allow them to come and spend the night because they were young and they wanted to kind of keep them familiar with each other. The older sister allowed the younger sister to abuse her. Like, I mean, scratch her arm up to the point where she was just bleeding, and she just sat there. And I'm like, why are you letting her do that? This is what we used to. Like, this is how she expresses herself. So to think of what are they, what situation are they coming from, to where at these kids couldn't have been no more than 7, 8 years old.
That's what they were used to. She said it. That's
Like,
what they became
at
accustomed
8 years
to.
old, you just like, I gotta deal with this, and then to even for it to be your little sister, so in your
Mhm.
mind, you just protecting her,
Right.
because this is just what's the norm.
Yeah, it's really unfortunate. But mental health issue, that's real.
For sure.
You know, that is a real thing, and we can see, you know, into today's society, it's just more and more and more prevalent.
Mhm.
You know, so it's like what shifted? Do you think that it could be like back in the day, like, you know, my mom, my grandma's time, it was hidden, and just now it's just out
It's more
there? Like,
open.
what? I mean, we know that they had to have some issues, but did they have this many issues?
I'm sure they did. I think back then they didn't have the privilege to be free to openly say what they were dealing with, or just like I'm trying to think. Somebody had asked me before, like, so wait, did being gay just become a thing? Like, no, there were gay people back in the days, but
I think it was
it
hidden.
just like mental
Mhm.
health. They didn't have the privilege to express themselves clearly. Like, now we have the privilege to be whoever we want, however we want. So I don't have to hide how I'm feeling. I that's a choice. Now we have choices.
Mhm.
Back then, they operated out of survival mode, so it was more like they didn't have that.
Mhm. I don't know. I want to know, like, what's the, I don't know, like, what was it like in the 60s versus 2024? So I'm about to look it up.
Okay. What you think, Tommy?
How it was. Like,
Do you think, hey Kenda, mental health is more open now, or do you feel like it? I feel like it was. They had the same issues. They just didn't have the privilege to be so open with it.
I don't think it shared the same um, description of what we believe mental health is now.
Mm-hmm.
I think when, like, we say mental health now, that includes like depression, anxiety,
ADHD.
right, all those things that go
Right.
along with it. When before mental health was crazy, it was schizophrenia, it was, you know, bipolar. Those
Say
like
you
the
were retarded and
exactly.
stuff like
So mental health was like when you said you were. I mean, that was how we call people. You dog mental, dog mental.
Right,
And
right.
it
right,
was
right.
like,
it's more acceptable too.
but it was crazy. So now when you say I have mental health issues, it's more, oh, what is it? Like, it's kind of like,
It's more acceptable,
right.
right.
and we have more knowledge about it.
Like, I didn't know there are levels to being blind. Like, I didn't know that someone who was
True,
blind,
Kenda.
the idea behind being blind, I thought was you saw black. Like, your eyes are closed, and my eyes, I close my eyes and I can't see shit.
I'll take off my glasses. I can't see shit.
But the levels of blindness are like, there are people who are completely blind, but just everything is completely out of focus. Like Stevie Wonder can see something.
Yeah,
It's just not completely black. So
Mm.
I say the same thing about mental health. It's like a what do you call it?
it's
A spectrum, like a spectrum of
Mhm.
mental health issues. So
Yeah, I mean, and we all got PTSD.
and my mother had some mental health issues. I didn't
do.
know until afterward. Now I look back, I was like, she had to have. She watched
Mhm.
my father die. Like, she saw him be murdered. So
Oh, that I didn't know.
there were moments
That I
where
didn't know.
there was moments she was completely quiet. She didn't talk. But I grew up thinking that my she's just quiet. She just don't talk. She talked to me, you know.
Mhm.
She probably needed to talk to your ass.
Can you move your finger so I can read what Kendra said? They call people crazy and assume they need a medication.
Mm-hmm. Or crazy treatments in
Definitely
yes,
have
in asylum.
PTSD, that's for real.
I believe that
For sure.
Ruthia. Oh, I said she mental.
Right. See how you act?
See how you read? If you read it right,
Ruthia,
I believe that
caused
Ruthia.
PTSD. That's what she thought. That's what you thought it was saying.
All right. I'm sorry,
But,
Ken.
I mean-
I didn't mean to misquote you.
I think that, you know, as we talking about
need a
mental
boy
health
fuck you.
issues, I do think that I think that Trump got some mental health issues. Like for real. I think it's something, it's definitely something going on in there.
Yeah, for sure.
You know, is it, I don't know, is it like what's the word, narcissism? Because that's not
Listen,
like
Mhm.
there's something going on there, seriously. Like all jokes aside.
for me personally, back in when I was younger, I would have been more afraid to admit that I have a mental health issue.
Mhm.
But I also don't see what I have and what I deal with as a mental issue.
You think it's just life, right?
Right. To me, so I was medically diagnosed with depression. And at first they was like, oh, well, it may be a seasonal depression. I'm like, everybody go through that. But after going through therapy, I had to, well, before going to therapy, I had a moment where it was like I couldn't even like function, like my hands couldn't process. So
Mhm.
even something at work, like we're supposed to put cardboard in one thing and paper in another thing. I literally, like in my mind, I'm telling myself what to do, but I'm taking the paper and I'm dumping it where the cardboard goes, and that broke me because I couldn't comprehend.
Yeah.
Like nothing about what I was doing normally made sense. And I literally sat there and I just screamed and I just cried, and it was just like, I have to go. And I literally drove, I called the doctor and I drove there. Like, she was like, well, we don't have any open appointments. I said, but if I don't come now, I won't make it. Like to the point where I had to go and be there and just sit in the office to say, y'all got to do something.
Mhm.
Like I regret it now, but I also don't regret it because it made my son feel a type of way. But I had to remove him from the home. Like, and maybe the way I did it wasn't the best way to do it because in his mind I put him out.
Yeah, but in that moment you can't.
But
you
this was,
couldn't-
I
you
let
would-
him go to my mom's house
Mhm.
because it was just like I can't let him see me like this. So, and I told myself, like, you know what, I'm gonna go to therapy and I'm gonna take this medicine, but I'm not gonna let it consume me.
Mhm.
I gave myself so much time to be like, I'm gonna take this medicine, I'm gonna let it do what it do, but do not overdosage me. Like, don't say,
Right.
oh well, you said this, so I'm a, whatever. But I read up enough about it to know
Mhm.
when they ask you these questions, be honest, but don't tell them this. Don't say this word.
Mhm.
Or when this question come up, don't say this because they will immediately lock you up.
Right.
Well, also the acceptance of going to a therapist right now is much different.
Absolutely.
Back
It's encouraged.
back in the day, if you were feeling like you were feeling, you were just sad. You were
Or
just
they
you were just
wanna-
sad. It wasn't necessarily a depression. It was-
Right.
And it used to be shame. I mean, it still
Yeah.
is shame by certain people. I've been shamed for going to therapy, and I'd be like,
Really?
motherfucker, you need to go to
You
therapy.
people be it's so weird. They shame you for going to therapy, but they try to drag you to the altar. Like, and that's you know what I'm saying? That's shaming. To me, that's shaming. You take somebody with a issue, drag them to the altar in front of the whole church, and you
Listen,
embarrass them and you shame them. To me, that's what you should be ashamed of. Being overly,
listen, I knew
religious and all of
I
that.
knew my therapist was good for me when she said she had to talk to God before accepting me as a patient. I said, child, you better talk to Jesus
Right.
so he can let
Hey,
you know that you're
Kivana.
gonna have to snatch me up. Hey, girlfriend. But
It's the
I
K
think
show. Everybody named with a K on the show.
I think it's important
Aw.
to for me, I think it's important for me to have the balance
Right.
of having the spiritual balance and to
For
have
sure.
the therapist because my therapist believes in the
Yes.
same God that I
mean,
believe in.
I 100% believe in God, and I definitely know that there are times where I probably could have broke, should have broke, and I knew that He was sustaining me. Don't get me wrong, I'm not, saying anything negative, but I'm talking about the people,
Right.
not God. I'm talking about
And that's
the
why I
people doing
think
too much.
a lot of times we have to, when they say don't just come to church and listen to the scripture, like you got to read it for
Yeah,
yourself
for
and get
yourself.
your own understanding.
Absolutely.
Because you can read the scripture and get an understanding and preach it to me and I don't receive it, but then I can go home and read it and God can speak to me in a whole nother way, and it could be like, oh, okay, well, you know what, that's the way God wanted me to receive it.
I remember
Exactly.
watching TD Jakes. I actually took myself away and I went to like Lake Geneva one time. I was like, I'm just gonna actually just retreat. I'm gonna actually get, because I was trying to find my purpose. I'm still trying to figure it out, but I say I'm gonna take a weekend.
That's gonna be a lifelong.
Like I'm trying to find my purpose in a weekend, but at least trying to get closer to
We
trying to get
understand.
closer to God again. So I actually said the whole time I was like watching TD Jakes because I appreciate his approach to pastoring. So
Don't like
I
them.
pulled out the Bible and read what he was saying. And he said a scripture. He said, you know what he's saying? He tried to break it down right there. And he started something. I was like, that ain't what that ain't what it say. And this is TD Jakes. I'm like, that what you said ain't what's right here.
I read somewhere just recently where it said, you know what God left out the Bible? Your opinion.
Ooh,
Preach the word
that
as
part.
it was written versus, and you can say with my spiritual imagination, but don't say the word says this and that ain't what the word, because I'm gonna go back and I'm gonna be like,
Correct.
that ain't it. But I believe that my God wants me to be in therapy.
I mean, he gave them that inside him. You know what I'm saying? To be able to be the doctor, to know.
I would not be calm today if I did not have therapy. I don't
think there's nothing wrong with that.
I met my therapist in the Sherman Phoenix. That's so black of me.
Yeah.
I met my therapist in the Sherman Phoenix.
She got one of them black jobs.
We need therapy and Jesus.
Yeah,
I do.
You need both. You need both.
I say her therapist got one of them black jobs.
I met her. Well, she technically don't work in the Sherman Phoenix,
right?
But
she was having to be here.
Yeah, and I honestly, so a lot of people thought that she was an angel because nobody at the time nobody knew her. Nobody had ever. I had only seen her that one time, but then I had talked to her over the phone for my therapy session. It was just like, okay, so do she actually live here? Do she really exist, or is God really just speaking to me? Am I crazy for real? Because it was like some of the stuff she would say, I'd be like,
that's that prayer. That's
you know what?
Therapy in Jesus. For real.
But I appreciate it because I was able to get off of the medication and I didn't feel like I had a mental health issue. I felt like I was just healing.
Sure.
Versus going through all of these problems and thinking like it's something wrong with me because this happened to me and now I feel this way. So I think the spectrum of mental health is all about perspective. How we was talking about the other day. Like I can look at it and be like, well, my perspective of mental health is this because I don't feel like I'm mental because I suffer from depression. And I don't really feel like I'm suffering.
Right.
Happily, I'm not suffering. I'm not in a suffering state, but somebody else can look at it and be like, depression. Oh no, you crazy. You know what I'm saying? But it's
definitely
life. It happens.
As we're talking about mental health issues and everything, we're in the season where it definitely happens the most.
Seasonal depression.
Yeah, it generally does start in like October. And it goes in on through the holidays. So we definitely have to be aware. We definitely have to encourage those who are dealing with it to
because you got the holidays and all the people that you like. I'm used to my mom being here. I'm used to this person being here, or I can see other people having family and I don't have. You know what I'm saying? So and even just the daylight savings.
Oh yeah,
it's dark. We're in darkness most of the time right now. So I never understood when my grandma would get up and open up the blinds. Like she would open up all, and this be like, girl, just turn on the light. But it makes sense now. Like you need to be in that natural sunlight.
Right. So we definitely need to be aware, pay attention to, to our loved ones,
and listen to them.
And listen, not try to downplay, oh, you'll be all right. Because that's the thing we do. Oh, you'll be all right. And maybe one day they will, but
today maybe they're not.
Yeah. Not necessarily today,
Right.
But it's, it's real and it's tough. So, I recently dealt with my nephew's dad killed himself a month ago. It's been a month. And I know that he had been dealing with some sort of depression. I know he had begun to drink a lot, so he was medicating. And he had been talking about killing himself for years. That we became insensitive to it.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Because it's just like, you've been saying this for 10 years. Like, we just didn't believe. We just thought he was just going through something.
Right.
And, this time he
He did.
You know, he followed through on it. He did call and speak to both of his children the night before he did it. But then that next day about noon, I think I got the call, you know, and it was unbelievable, of course. It was definitely tragic because now you left behind a 14-year-old little boy. And then he had a sister. I don't know how. I think she's 12 because they have different moms. But you left them behind,
Right.
and you know, it was just like, I know, like, my nephew has not. He said he don't know how to process. He it's been a month, and he said he still don't know how to process it.
He probably won't.
No,
He probably won't ever know how to process it.
Mm.
We don't know how to process this type of stuff.
Absolutely, because it's been a month for me now. Him and my nephew's mom, they've been broke up for a long time, but he still was a part of our family.
Right.
He still was a part of our life. That for me, you know, my personal struggle with it is I, for whatever reason, I am stuck on that moment before he actually did it. I'm stuck right there of what was he thinking? What was he going through? What was it that just completely took him over the edge? You know what I mean? And even too, like, the really hard part for me was, did he have time to ask for forgiveness?
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
I mean, and
so it's really, you know, tough. Like, I just keep thinking, I keep feeling, it's almost like I feel his anguish.
So I would say, even just for your nephew, I'm 50-50 on this, right? You have, when I was a teenager, I lost someone really, really close to me. He was murdered. But and because it was someone that we were in middle school, they had this thing called loss group. Part of me feels like we all deserve that, especially as teenagers. We need a place where we can freely express, and there's other people around us that's our age,
right?
But then there's the other side, that the attachment to loss. Being in that group, I felt like it was a negative side of that, because
like trauma bonding.
Because there was some kids in there that was like, well, if we miss them that much, we should kill ourselves. Like, you know what I'm saying? So there's a 50-50, you know, there for me, where it's like, yes, they need that space to be able to express freely. And then obviously there is, you know, a grief coach there, or at least I had a grief coach. And we pissed our grief coach off to the point where he was like, y'all want to kill yourself? Y'all want me to tell you how to do it? And we would sit up there. That was our reaction, like, wait, what? And he was just like, y'all doing it wrong. Y'all trying to slit y'all wrist, but y'all ain't doing it right. You're cutting in the wrong direction. And I'm sitting up there like, how rude. Like, why would you tell me how to kill myself? He said, that's how I know you're not ready. And it was like, wow. You know what I'm saying? Like, it for me, it was like, okay. He was like, at some point, y'all just want some attention. This group is for this.
Right.
Don't use it to, like you said, trauma bond. But it was at some point, it had became that. Like, I still have a scar on my arm now, and he just kind of looked at me like, "You still doing it wrong. If you're gonna do it this way." And in my mind, I was a cutter, so it was just kind of like, "Well, I'm doing it because this is what makes me feel better in the moment." And he was just like, "I'm sick of y'all. Like, either y'all gonna do it this way, or y'all not gonna do it at all." Right. You know, so you do. I need people like that in my life, to where,
like, he made it real. He made it real. Like,
be firm with me.
Yeah.
Be firm with me, because you can't just tell me, "Oh, stop." No, snatch me up and tell me, because that's how God deal with me.
Yeah, for real.
Knock me across the head sometimes. But I would say to give him the outlets. Yeah. And with people who, one, he can feel comfortable with, but also with people who he isn't familiar with, because it might be harder for him to express with you or mom or whatever in the room. Recently I had yesterday, actually, today is what, Tuesday? So yesterday I got a phone call. Yesterday morning I got a call. I'm at work. I'm working, but I keep my phone on me.
Mm-hmm.
I got a phone call saying that my brother was missing. Now this is my brother who I consider to be my twin. We have the same father, different mothers, but we like a little under a month apart. In our eyes, we twins.
Mm-hmm.
His mother, he was in a car accident a couple years ago. We both have family down south. His mother, his sister, him, and I think another one of his cousins and his cousin's wife, they were in a wreck somewhere down south, and they were hit by a drunk driver. His mother died.
Oh,
His
my
cousin
God.
died. His cousin and his cousin's wife died.
Mhm.
Him and his sister were the only two survivors. The other driver lived for maybe like 2-3 days, and then they ended up dying.
Wow.
And when he woke up, he was unconscious for 2 days, and then when he woke up, it was a point of, if I'm like this and my mother isn't with me, where is she?
Right.
So recently he's been a couple years ago he was learning how to rewalk and stuff like that. Like
Right.
that's how bad the accident was. But yesterday when I got the phone call, they were saying like, he's missing. Can't nobody find him? Somebody said they seen his car.
Mhm.
It was like he was in a car accident, but his phone was in the car, his wallet was in the car, his gun was in the car. Like, they were saying all this stuff, and I'm like, when was the last time y'all talked to him? What was he saying? Because in my mind, are y'all not paying attention to the dates? Like, he's probably going through some depression. And they were just like, well, he was talking about his mama the other day, but he always talked about his mama. And I'm like, we have to be acceptable to the point that where sometimes people are not willing to live anymore. And he refused to go to the hospital. Once they did find him, somebody found him stumbling around the neighborhood. And he just gave them a random address, and they dropped him off, and he was like, I can make it in the house, but it wasn't his house. And then somebody else found him like in between some houses. He was like just laying on the ground because he couldn't make it. He was bleeding, and it was just like, y'all are all upset because he didn't take care of himself, but y'all are not listening to. I said, what happened the night before? Who was he with? What was he saying?
Right.
They're not paying attention to the signs of he's depressed, and he's saying that he misses his mother, and that's where he wants to be. Like, we have to be cautious and not be angry.
You have to listen too.
And then don't be angry because he didn't do something that in his mind it probably wasn't important in the moment. Why didn't you go to the hospital? Why didn't you do this? That wasn't on my list of things to do.
No.
In his mind, he probably tried to kill himself. And everybody was like, well, he should have did this.
Ain't we so bad? We always want to give some advice. And we don't, if we're not dealing with it, how do we know? But again, that goes back to what you were saying about perspectives.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? I don't care if me and you are both diagnosed with depression. My depression is still not going to look like your depression.
Right.
You know what I mean? Because you're you and I'm me. Like, we're all different and we deal with stuff differently. We're all built different. So it's not just not going to be the same.
Yeah.
And so we got to stop putting our shit on other people.
And one thing that I've heard numerous of times in this last couple of months is life can be that freaking hard. It was a hard F-bomb, but like, well, people got to get themselves together. It can't be that hard. And it's just like, you don't know how they are processing life. That's and true. What are they dealing with. Just because you are willing to cover up whatever you're dealing with and just be like, oh, well, I'll get over it. You don't know. I can look like the strongest person out here in the world, but when I go home, who knows if I'm going in that room and I'm crying and what I'm dealing with. So I remember, we gotta stop telling people like, they'll be okay.
I remember a time in my life where I never thought about or ever considered suicide, but I do remember being, I just wish I would just die. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Not that I wanted to do it myself, because I wasn't doing nothing, because I'm scary. I'm not about to do it, but still I remember just, thinking it. Like, I wish I would just die.
I've been in both places. I've been suicidal and I've been prayerful.
Absolutely.
Or wishful, I guess you can say. Like
hopeful.
Yeah, like,
have you ever been given medication that kind of help kind of facilitate some intrusive thoughts?
Of suicide?
Yeah.
I'll let you go first because mine are gonna be related to me. But
I don't feel like so. One person that when I told them that I was going to start taking the depression medicine, they gave me some pointers on like, well, don't take this because this will make you feel this way, or
Mhm.
if they give you this, make sure it's not this dosage. So I had people around me that was able to kind of tell me certain stuff about different prescriptions, but I have vertigo. And it's not meclizine, it's another pill that they gave me. I told my doctor if she ever give me that again, I can't think of the name of it, I will kill her because it made me have an out of body experience.
Mhm.
Like to the point where I can never forget. I was sitting on the couch, and I was standing in front of myself screaming like, "Get up!" Tyler was really, really little, and he was getting ready to hurt himself. He was crawling around the house. I don't know what he was doing, but I know he was getting ready to hurt himself, and it was like, "Get up! Like you have to help him." But I was there, like it was me looking at me, and I told my doctor, if you ever prescribe this for me again, she was like asking me all these questions, like, "Well, what was your full experience?" And like, "Oh, you got to have a diary and stuff like that." She was like, the chances of that happening was like 1 in a million. Like, yes, that is a side effect,
But it's listed.
It's like 1 in a million. I'm like, you didn't tell me that. So I made it my business to whenever I get a prescription
to read all that stuff.
The pamphlet that comes when you go to Walgreens, they had a little pamphlet attached to it. I sit there and read it.
Yeah,
I'm reading all of that.
Because you have, especially if you've never taken it before,
and
you
I
have to
Google
be,
shit because them words be big.
but you have to be, you have to be at least aware of the possibility of whatever they're saying.
Exactly.
Yeah. I definitely made sure that I didn't take certain medicines or a certain high dosage because I was warned about certain depression medicines. But like I said, I did have the out of body experience with the vertigo medicine
because some of them have side effects of hallucinations, suicidal thoughts, and I mean, obviously, it sounds like you had the hallucination, but that's crazy.
And it's if we laugh about the commercials and they be like, "Oh, if you have a cold, take this, but you might have this." It's like, dang, don't want to have a runny nose. Or
well, you know why? Because, I mean,
right.
it took me a
Or
long
shit on
time to
myself.
realize this, but the medications that they have, if you do Google the medications, you'll also see that this is also treated for cancer recipients or for weight loss or anxiety. I mean, like, wait, this is the same medicine they give like kids for like, you know, a sprained ankle. It may be something real stupid like that, but they mix them so that
I had to go to a clinic to get blood work because I'm anemic, and I was terrified because they sent me to a cancer center, and I'm like, what? Like, wait,
what's wrong with me?
Like, what y'all mean? Like, y'all supposed to be taking my blood for this, and I had just had a friend that died of cancer, so it was just like a blood cancer too, and I was like, absolutely not.
Hell to the
I stood in the hallway and told the security guard, "Hey, go get them. Tell them come here. They gotta come out here to talk to me.
Right.
I'm not going in there." He was like, I mean, if that's where your appointment is, no, tell the doctor come talk to me before I go in there because I need to be aware. They was like, "Oh no, we just kind of do everything here. It's much easier. You're in freighter. It's fine." I'm like, "Well, can you poke me out here? I give you my arm, but can you poke me in the hallway?" Because
no sense.
I was scared because you just never know. Because sometimes they won't tell you.
I can imagine being in such a mental state that you'll take a medication and the thought process would coerce you into suicide. I can actually see it because it puts you in a state, and this is just my experience, put me in a state to actually even fathom it ever happening, which had never crosses my mind ever. And I had a conversation with somebody. I was like, "You know what? I think it was I don't know what it was. I mean, my daughter's in the cotillion, and I'm doing dance recitals with her. I mean, dance practice with her because we have a dance that we have to do. She has dance. They dance with their escort and then with their father, and I'm one of the dancers. And I don't even know what the thought was up to that point. And I was like, I can't do that. I got to dance with her at the cotillion. I was like, what? And I was like, what the fuck did that?
Right. Where did that come from?
Where the fuck did that come from? And why did I even think that?
Like,
Well,
they'll prescribe you 2 different pills, and it'll be because. So I think at one point I was working third shift, and I was like, my sleep schedule's already messed up, but then you prescribe me this medicine that's supposed to, and it's going to affect my sleep even more. So it's like, oh, well, we'll give you this pill for that.
Mm-hmm.
And it was
That's
just
too
so
much.
I actually asked her, well, what are my options? And they gave me like a list of different things, and it was like this one will work for this, and it's a kind of the side effect for this. Like it was like a chart, and I was like looking at it like literally, what's the lesser of the evils? Kind of like with the
Seriously,
election, like what's the
man.
lesser of the two freaking evils?
Seriously. So on a different side of your question, Tommy, it took me back to when my mom was dying, and she was on Dilaudid, whatever.
I heard it.
Which is, I think, like 7 to 10 times stronger than morphine. And I remember
Morphine is good.
Girl, but imagine 7 to 10 times stronger.
Look, I'm over
This
here like,
you so silly. So I remember. So this is before. So at that time, it was just for them to control the pain.
Mhm.
We didn't know quite yet the extent of the cancer, right? So she was still at home, and I would have to give her this pill, and I only could give it to her every, I think, 4 hours. But I would give her the pill. And I remember an hour after I gave her that pill, her asking me for more. And her asking me, because at first it took me a while to understand, she kept saying, is it time? So at first I'm like, is she talking about, is it time for her to die? Like, what are we talking about here? And then I realized she was asking for more medication. And in that moment, I wanted to give it to her because she was in that much pain. That in that moment, I understood suicide. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I understood
There
that.
is
And I understood assisted suicide.
I'm about to say,
But I just didn't want to go to jail.
I'm about to say there is
You know?
a thing called assisted suicide, but technically it's not legal.
It's not.
And a lot of people, like, I used to watch Law and Order all the time, where they'd be
Oh
like,
my God, that's
you
my
know,
show.
the injection with the assistant, the assisted suicide for that. Or this one situation where this man went to jail and his wife was like, no, like that was like, it was for the daughter or the son or something like that. Like, no, that was a wish. I just couldn't do it. They want to shoot him. Like, I'm dying. Like, just shoot me. So
yeah.
I want to show this because I talk about this all the time, because we got to be careful with our pharmaceuticals, because these are the top revenues in the United States that run the United States. And you see it's hospitals, health and medical insurance. Number 5 is pharmaceuticals.
Yeah.
Then life insurance.
It's
crazy.
It's
It's amazing. I mean, it's a lot of insurance that runs so they actually benefit off of us being sick.
Oh, absolutely. 100%.
I mean, that's why we're here.
And a lot of times, they'll misdiagnose us just because, you know.
Right. Take this for that. Take this for that. It's like, okay. And the insurance pays for it.
And, Or even when they tell you, like, you have to have a mammogram annually or a pap annually. You do not. If it's not running in you do not.
Even so there's two sides of that, where they don't diagnose you when you know something's wrong.
Oh,
Black women have to learn to advocate for themselves.
You gotta stand your ground on that.
But then there's also the side where they'll tell you there's something wrong with
fat you. Black women have it even worse.
Like, oh well, you have this. So I God, I don't know what movie it was. I'm a Netflix girl, but it was a show where they was just saying, like, this lady was taking all this medicine, and she was just like, I didn't feel sick. Like, I never felt sick. I just went in because of this and whatever. And this man was getting he had a contract with a pharmaceutical company where he was diagnosing all these women, and they were taking all this medicine, and this one lady ended up dying, and the family was like, well, what was wrong with her? He was diagnosing them with cancer and stuff like that.
I saw that, and they were taking all this medicine all the time.
Yeah. And it was just like, then they went to somewhere else, and they were just like, well, can you test me? And it was never anything wrong with these people. But you have doctors who are like, oh, well, we got to push certain medicine, and we got to.
Yeah, they definitely get.
I always talk about this regarding mental health, but it's a Netflix movie called Made. Have you seen it?
I didn't see it yet. I forgot to go back and watch it.
It's a series. Did I talk about it on here already?
Is that the one? So. Wait, like, I feel like
I watched it while I was going through my episode, and I was like, damn, this is the most clearest depiction of a depression I've ever seen in my life. But she had her child taken. She was in an abusive relationship.
I
Became
did
homeless.
see that. I did see
Right.
that. I seen
And then
that.
one of the episodes, I don't know if you remember that, she went back to the abusive man, and they were still in the trailer park, and she was just like having like the out of body experience kind of. She was just sitting on the couch for days, and it was just a cycle. And I don't know how did whoever made this movie was a perfect director, because he directed like 10 minutes, it was maybe 5 minutes, but it felt like a week, because every day husband would leave, go get some, he'd come back from work, drink a beer, yell at her, whatever. She was still sitting in the same spot. And every time you saw her, she got deeper and deeper in the crevice of the couch. Yeah. To the point that she was at the bottom of the couch, she was in the couch, and you saw the crack of the couch, and she was just laying there still. And she could hear everything going on. People were like, is she okay? Or coming to the door, talking to her. And she was just there. I was like, it wasn't scary. That's what's crazy about it. It was like, damn, she was so deep into that cycle, and she got up out of it. I have to rewatch it to see how she got out of it, but I was like, that was the best example of just being in the deep dark space. And it wasn't, she wasn't suicidal, she was just depressed. Depressed.
Yeah, that don't always lead to suicide,
right? Exactly.
And I think too, we still operate out of survival mode, because
for sure,
what if, because her being a mother, me being a mother, it's kind of like, well, I know in my mind I still have to take care of my child. I know in my mind I still have to get up and go to work. I can be depressed later, type of thing. But because in that movie her child's father was there, it was just like, the baby ain't killing himself, they ain't hurting it. You know what I'm saying? It was just like, I can just be here and sit. Like, I was, for a while, like, you couldn't tell me that I would go to work and I'll be sitting there like, how did I get here? Like, what? Like, I'm here, but I couldn't remember. Like, how did I get here? How did I get home? And it was just like, I was in robot mode.
That's like, well, Ruthia, you saw me go through, when I was living in Racine and being down there by myself. And like, I love my apartment down there was nice, but I realized later my apartment was on the back side of the building, and it didn't get a lot of sun. And I realized I was down there in the dark. And then I worked in the building, and then I would literally, my car was parked underground, so I never was.
That's why you so white.
The girl, shut the fuck up.
It makes perfect sense now.
Whatever. So I had to come out of that, because I was literally living in darkness, and I realized it. And then, of course, being disconnected from everybody, because I'm there. I'm
and
not
now look
here.
at you. You got me to bother you on a regular.
Jesus, I had to move back. But
so nice to see you.
I never really dealt with depression. I mean, of course, we all have times where we're down. I think that's normal, anybody. But I knew then, like, I got to come back, because I'm really, really dealing with something here that
I'm trying to understand it. My therapist that told me you have an episode. You're not depressed. You're going through an episode.
Right.
A depressive episode. Yeah, so you may have had episodes.
Yeah.
Like we talked about the spectrum.
Yeah, for sure.
You may have gone through a slight phase and was strong enough to get up out of it. But sometimes it hits you so hard, you're like, yeah, I need some help.
Yeah, that's where I was at that point.
Yeah.
And I was like, because people know me to be a social person, right? But what a lot of people didn't know, sometimes, I'm
over here like,
a lot of times people would think I would like be somewhere with other friends, but I really would be at home on that couch. You know what I'm saying? Or I'd be in the bed. But people wouldn't know that. And when, you know what I mean? Because they would just automatically assume, because I have 10 different sets of people, you know what I'm saying, that I deal with or I socialize with, that they just assume that we haven't seen Nicole in a while, she's probably over here doing this, or she's probably that.
Yeah.
When in fact I was on that couch. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And depression looks different, like you said before, for everybody. Like, I've witnessed some of my friends go through depression, and I'm a girl get up type of friend. Like, I'm not going to allow you to just sit there in it. Right. Kind of how I did you the other day. Like, come on, we finna go somewhere. I don't care if
And
you
I
don't.
promise I needed that without even realizing
I needed it. I knew I
Mhm.
needed it. And I needed you to tag along.
Yeah.
But I've seen a particular friend sleep, and I would randomly just call and they'd be like, "Oh, I'm taking a nap." Not today, you not.
I'm gonna get your ass up and let's
Go.
roll.
And I would be like, and this person didn't even live here, and I would be on the phone with them, be like,
Mhm.
"I'm going for a walk. You go for a walk."
Now,
Just to get outside.
there are cases where we do have to do that. You know what I mean? But we have to be aware of when the right time is.
Right.
You know what
I
I'm
just
saying?
and I guess for me it's easy for me to see it because I've been there.
Mhm.
I also was told early on that well we can't diagnose you with depression or we can't help you because I always knew I had seasonal depression. But then it was always, oh well, you didn't you don't complain about it. I hadn't complained about it consecutively for 3 years. So they couldn't quote unquote diagnose me. But I'm like, I don't want to own it. So I don't feel the need to, I guess you can say, complain about it. It's something that I know happens and I just deal with it. But I had from October to even just December, I can name you 17 people that either died or got murdered.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? So it was always heavy for me. Just that time period is heavy. And then also, and I learned this from therapy that it wasn't just the deaths that was heavy for me. It was the fact that it's the holidays and I would have to go be around family that I didn't want to be around, but I didn't have a choice. And you know what I'm saying? In my mind, it was like, it's the holidays. This is what we do. So I'm forced to be in situations with people who I don't feel comfortable with. So I was depressed because it was like, here it is, another holiday where I have to be around these people. Now I'm at a point where it's like, who coming? Oh, I ain't going. You gonna just sit at home by yourself? And the fuck I will. Like I'd rather sit at home and, as people say, quote unquote, be depressed by myself. I'm by myself in peace. I can eat a whole pie, okay? I can eat a whole sweet potato pie without cutting it with just a fork, and I ain't gotta share.
Oh, so I gotta make your sweet potato pie. Okay.
Yes, please.
So
You know, just that's peace for me now, but back then
Right.
it was depression.
right. So how do you think what can we do to encourage people who maybe are dealing with depression or any sort of mental health issue?
Do mind dumps. Like you'll see on social media, they do like the photo dumps or the monthly dumps. I do a mind dump nightly. I don't have a good morning routine, but nightly I do a mind dump. Whether it is taking 5 minutes and it's writing in my journal, I'm really good for writing in my journal, or even if it's just sitting there and thinking it. Like I vent to my boss all the time. When people at work irritate me, I'll just sit there and I'll be like, don't need a response, just need to mind dump or brain dump or whatever. You just got to get it out. Find you accountability partners, find you your village, find you whether I mean it doesn't have to be a church, it doesn't have to be a therapist, but find you something or somebody that's going to be a healthy release. And allow yourself the grace to go through it.
Right.
Like shout out to D.N.R. She always told me, like, allow yourself the grace to actually deal with it, feel it, whatever. Give yourself a time limit.
Yep.
Okay, that hurt me. I'm gonna feel the emotions. I'm gonna give myself 30 minutes or whatever. Even if 30 minutes, it could be 30 minutes, it can be an hour, it can be a week, it could be a day, whatever. Don't just
Be
suppress,
stuck
you know what
there.
I'm saying?
Yeah.
Or don't just be like, oh, I'm over it. You know what I'm saying? But allow yourself that time to feel, but then also make a plan to process it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So
Music is therapy. I like candles and quiet spaces, getting a good book, and even it can be any book, because a book for me allows me to escape my reality. I love reading a good book. It just helps you escape.
Right. I think I try to how I've dealt with things is that I like if something happens to me and whatever my reaction is, I'll take me some time to say, okay, why did you react that way?
I ain't got that far.
You know what I mean?
Mm.
What is it that's really bothering you? What is the root cause? Like, where did that really come from?
I
Like,
ain't
for
got
real,
there
for
yet.
real. You know what I mean? Like,
Mhm.
for me, like one example, now I know we probably should start to wrap it up, is I, what triggers me, and this probably sounds so minor to people, is people telling me that they're going to pick me up at a certain time. If you tell me you're going to pick me up at 6 o'clock,
I ain't gonna ever tell you a time then.
if 6
Mm-mm.
o'clock come and you're not there,
What if they like text you and be like, I'm running late? Because Tommy was late today.
okay, that's okay. That won't bother me if you let me know. But to leave me sitting there
Yeah.
waiting and I'm waiting and I'm waiting, I will completely
Abandonment
lose
issues.
my shit. My kids know I will snap and they'd be like, oh my God, because my dad,
That's
it
what I
was
was
not
saying.
intentional.
It's abandonment issues.
My dad did it, but it wasn't like, oh well, we're just gonna not pick her up. It was, my dad worked third shift. You know what I'm saying? And so he would oversleep often, like
Mhm.
daily. And I was always the last child left at the school waiting. But then later it turned into, when my parents weren't together anymore, it turned into my dad not showing up.
Yeah.
Then in my relationship with my ex-husband, it what turned into him never, he would leave to go do something
Right.
and not come back home when he should be back home. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So that right there is a major trigger to me. So now I'm better able. So like you say, okay, Nicole, I'm gonna be there at 6 and you're not at 6. I ain't freaking out as much
Listen
as
to me,
I
'cause I'm
used to,
always late.
because I know where it's really coming from.
Right.
You know what I'm
So
saying?
I've had an experience. I don't know. It was for my birthday, where I was somewhere in public and I had a really really high trigger. I wasn't expecting it, and it broke me. Like, I mean, to the point where I was ready to leave. I cried. I had a whole moment in the bathroom. Luckily, El Renee was there to kind of be like, sis, let's work through it. Like, if you want to leave, you feel like it's necessary, we can go, but let's work through this. Do you need to call your therapist? Do you need to breathe? Do you need to step outside? And I had to literally look in the mirror and say, you have the tools, use them.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I allowed myself the moment to feel how I felt,
Mhm.
but then I had to take back that control and be like,
Absolutely,
girl, you got the
100%.
tools. It might not, you have the tools, but maybe in my mind, I think it was, I had the tools to deal with this person. I wasn't faced with this person yet. So I think it was just like, okay, I'm gonna freak out real quick, but then I'm gonna pull it back together. And I had,
Right.
like I said, I had the tools to regain control. So
Mhm.
Do you think that
no.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
Leave Tommy alone. What was you gonna say, Tommy?
nothing?
Mhm.
Say
Come
it, I'm
on,
sorry.
we want to hear
I'm not gonna say
Dead air.
it.
Do you think that in circumstances where you are at a moment of grappling with yourself, that having somebody in your life as a partner, like a relationship, a love interest or whatever, would help or hurt circumstances like that?
I think it's gonna depend
Excuse me.
on
Bless you.
for me,
Thank you.
if I could go back, like I can, I always gonna continue to use my ex-husband. He couldn't help me do a fucking thing. You get what I'm saying? He couldn't help
Mhm.
me when I
Was so
when I was trying to make the
Yikes.
decision of right.
I was over here.
Yikes. When I was trying to make the decision of getting a divorce, I did go through a slump. Like my mom took my kids. I shared this, and I literally laid on the floor of the living room for a whole week. And this
Yeah, you
nigga was
said
just
that.
stepping over me. Never said,
It's, and
Let
every
me help
single
you up.
time that is funny because visually it's like,
yeah,
what?
never said, babe,
It's-
let me help you up. What can I do for
It's
you?
basically
I'm
like
sorry.
the movie he was just, or the TV show he
yeah.
was just talking about. Like,
Yeah, like didn't even bother to try to nothing. You know what I'm saying? And so in that situation, absolutely not.
yeah,
With that specific person.
yeah,
You know what I mean? But if I had the right person, I believe that we
I
could
agree.
work together, and he could help me, I can help him, as areas I'm gonna be strong in, areas he may be strong in, or you know what I mean, so that we could kind of
Yeah,
figure it out together. So, but yeah.
I agree. I think also because depression will have you thinking that you need to push everybody away. So to
Mhm.
have somebody there, even if it's just somebody there in silence, I think is important.
Mhm.
Or have you a me, because I'm gonna harass you and irritate you to where you're gonna be like, all right, I'm leave me alone. I ain't depressed
Hell,
no
you
more.
make a shit.
I'm just
You
saying.
be
I
making
guess
us to get
I
depressed.
probably am asking like a hypothetical because in some circumstances we haven't experienced it enough to know that like, oh yeah, I would have my person. But I think when I was married, I think I had my person that would, because I don't remember ever feeling like I have when I was married. I
Yeah,
had moments when I was like, I can't deal with this, and why, it was more
yeah,
frustration and anger and all that stuff. But it wasn't like a depression. Like it would. But when I got out of it and had to deal with it by myself, and then deal with finances, and then deal with this, and then deal with
yeah.
that, and just all of a sudden, you just looking back
Mhm.
at all the things that was going wrong, it can tear you down, and then bringing somebody else in it
Mm.
at that moment was not good either.
So I can say been on both ends. I wasn't technically in a relationship, but I had a situationship. And when I was in the height of my depression, he was able to be my soundboard, because he was the one that was telling me, don't take this medicine or do your
Mhm.
research on, he was the person that was there for me. And he was the one that, I mean, he was an asshole, but he would still come over and be like, open a door. I'm going to just sit here with you and I'm going to bring food. So in case you want to eat, you know what I'm saying? So, and I
Mhm.
also feel like because he was there for me, I kind of still have that attachment to him. Like, dang, I owe him something because he was there for me through my depression. But then now also being on the other end of that, being with someone who does have those issues, is kind of like, because I've already worked through mine, that is hard to deal with. It's like,
Mhm.
I don't want to be like, I can't deal with this, because you don't want to leave a person in that state of mind, because you never know what will happen and feel guilty. But at the same time, it's kind of like, this is wearing on me as
Mhm.
well. So I think you got to be strong enough to even say you'll stick around and be in those situations. And it may be hard, but also accept the fact when people do try to push you away, or when people say, I'm
Right.
not strong enough to deal with this.
Yep.
I think that's important
Absolutely.
too. Like,
So, Ruthia,
no. See, it's not just you, Tommy.
what you gonna pull the plug on today?
Today, I'm pulling the plug on people who try to hold me in a place where I've already grown from.
Mm. Your heel dish.
Listen,
I need that shirt though.
Duana. This is Duana. She has a couple different ones, but this one is my favorite because I don't think we are ever completely healed. I think
Right.
it's a
Oh, I agree.
cycle.
It's a
So
constant
I'm
work.
healed ish.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, shout out to Duana. She just dropped another one too. I don't
Yeah, I
remember
like
what it
that.
is, but yeah,
I
I feel
need
like it was
that.
perfect
I need
for
that.
the episode.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
I don't know if she got like a actual page, but her healing journey was different and for many different reasons. But her story encouraged me to heal as well. So
Tommy, what you pulling the plug
I had a
on?
good conversation last night with a friend I hadn't spoken to in a long time, and we have been talking about some similar situations that we're talking about here tonight.
Mm-hmm.
And she talked about her path through it and said that she surrendered herself.
Mm.
And when she told me that, she hurried up and got off the phone. It was like, all right, I gotta call you back. And I was like, surrender. The whole day I was like,
I'm thinking that
surrender.
too. Like, what did she
Like
surrender?
so many surrender. Well, she's literally surrendered her like livelihood, like she just went on a leap of faith and said, I'm going to I'm gonna quit. I'm gonna just give my faith to God and allow Him to, do everything. That's a lot.
It
It
is,
is.
That's a
but
lot. But it was such a
She
mustard
probably
seed.
free.
it's like a freeing, like a freedom. When I thought about that with you, when you said that they let you go, and I'm like, and he was funny because he was like, They fired me. And he was walking around telling people, I ain't got.
about y'all fired me. I'm knocking on everything.
And it reminded me of when my daughter
I'm
was
taking all the keys to everything.
My daughter she wanted to be potty trained so bad. She was like 2. She would go to women and say, "You got panties on?" I got panties on. She it was like,
That's so
I
cute.
ain't got no job. Like that's how you were. Like, hey,
Tell her,
And
don't-
guess what?
Tell your daughter, don't ask
Tommy.
me.
And I still don't got one.
Tell that baby, don't ask me, because I'm be like, no.
And I ain't looking for. I mean, I have to look for one because unemployment requires me.
right.
But I ain't looking for one.
Tommy hiring.
You know what I'm saying? Like I do what I'm supposed to do. I apply. I
Yeah.
do apply.
But freedom.
Man, it's unbelievable. Like, but I can say though, just because I don't have a job, I do not lay in the bed. I get up every morning. I'm up by 6 o'clock, 6:30 at the latest. I get up and I put my clothes on and I get to
She
going.
don't be responding to my text messages though.
When did you text me in the
I
morning?
don't remember this.
Yeah,
Say
you
what's
just
your
making up
conversation.
something. So yeah, but I get up and get dressed every single day. So I'm not just laying around the house.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like the last 2 weeks I had my daughter's son because the school is switching over to Head Start. And so I took care of him for 2 weeks. You know what I mean? So and I just did all type of activities with him or whatever. So I ain't just laying
He took
around.
care of you.
I'm trying to get my polo baby together. That's a whole nother episode.
So
But,
I'm sorry. This is a long
yeah.
plug pulling. But the surrender that I thought about, I started off with Facebook. So I deactivated my account, and I have a two-way authenticator on my Facebook account, and it's a catch-22 because the other authentication is it comes up in my my notifications on Facebook. So if I deactivate, and I tried to get back on because I want to see, I went through a stage of weakness. I'm get back on, and I
missed me.
Well, I got your phone number now.
Delete that part right there.
I ain't got. I could just text you.
I'm about to block you.
I haven't used it. See, I would been
I'm
good.
about to block him.
I even did nothing.
I'm just gonna drink some water.
You send me anyway. I can't get back on because when I logged on, it says go to your device and say it's you. Well, on my device is the notifications. I can't get it back in Facebook into my notifications and say it's me because there's no other way of doing it. So I'm just locked out of Facebook.
So and that's what you pulled the plug on.
Well, I'm pulling the plug. Well, with the surrendering, it allowed me time to actually get more grounded. I prayed. I wrote 2 prayers. Like it's different to write them and then other than praying. Yeah. So I wrote them and then reread them a couple of times throughout the day. I read a couple of scripture. I cleaned the house. I washed, listened to the radio. I mean, I was doing all this other stuff, and here I am.
Before you do your pull the plug, I do want to say, I did something the other day. I was in a funk, like don't nobody like me right now. I don't know why. I was in a funk, but what I did was I reread my birthday cards. And it was like, because when people give you your birthday cards, they are expressing their love for you and whatever the gratitude for you being in their life. Rereading stuff like that helped boost my mood, and it was just like, oh,
right, somebody do love me.
It really, really made me feel good. Like,
not looking good.
Tommy, was you done with your?
I am, and I just got really mad.
Don't even. You can't. It's still hours to go.
I know.
You don't even got the West Coast in there yet.
They
so just chill. What am I pulling the plug?
Don't say me.
I was, but okay.
Girl, fuck you.
I am pulling the plug on, and Ruthia, I think you said this before, but I'm gonna use it. I'm just pulling the plug on people who not bringing value to my life. Go away. That's where I'm at. Go away. Leave me alone. Just go away. Go straight to hell. That's where I'm at with it. You know what I'm saying? Like, just leave me be. If you not bringing no added value, or you not helping me in wherever areas that I may have lack or I need assistance in, go away. And I don't mean like I'm just want to take advantage of people, because I know that I'm always pouring out. But if if you're not filling my cup, I'm no longer filling yours. Go away.
Jamila
Second,
said,
yep.
we're
We're
no
trying to
longer pouring
pour
from
from
our
in.
cup. Your cup should never be empty. Pour from your overflow, pour from your saucer. Figure
Yeah.
out how to get you a saucer, pour from that.
Yep. So
And just like that, we pull in the plug.
or not.
They don't want to die, do they? Tommy, you broke the buttons.
User error.
I love is when women decide that something is no longer serving them and they get the fuck up out of it. Like, this is no longer meant for me. Gotta blast. I love that. Like, I love when women choose themselves, put themselves first. Like, I love that. Girl, look at you. Realizing who the fuck you are and realizing not. I'm not going to deal with this any longer. I need to get up out of this. I need to do what's best for me. And you did that shit. And that's why you a boss ass bitch, because you did that shit. You did that shit. Never forget that you did that shit.